Now to Egypt, where a series of bombs exploded in and around the capital today. It happened on the eve of Egypt's 2011 revolution. 4 explosions, all targeting police, killed 6 people, dozens injured. This CCTV video captures the worst attack, a car exploding outside police headquarters in Cairo. An armed group based in the Sinai reportedly has taken responsibility for the explosion. Ezzatyar joins us now this evening from San Francisco. He's the executive director of the UC Berkeley program on entrepreneurship and development in the Middle East. Ali, welcome to you. What do you make of the latest violence?
Well, even given the imperfect information that we have, which suggests that the Muslim Brotherhood was not responsible for these attacks, it's probably fair to say that it's hardly surprising. If you're one of the millions of Egyptians who voted to elect Mohammad Morsi and the Muslim Brotherhood about 1.5 years ago, Egypt is probably becoming an increasingly untenable place for you to live. We all know about the coup d'etat which ousted this democratically elected government, but now the Muslim Brotherhood has been banned and branded a terrorist organization. And so if there's anything we've learned about the Arab Spring, it's that extremist groups will use these political schisms and will use division in society to advance their agendas through terrorism. And so regardless of who was responsible for these attacks, that appears to be what happened today.
So what impact do these militant groups actually have on the government and the political process there?
I think the issue is that regardless of whether or not a majority of Egyptians deplore these particular acts, if half of the population or a large segment of the population is disaffected and they're not mobilized in support of the process, then these attacks can be very effective. They sort of are able to make society unstable in a way that makes the political process essentially fall into the hands of the military. And so they do have a severe effect, and as we've also seen today, the military has sort of implicitly blamed the Muslim Brotherhood for these attacks. And that means there will be suspicion on the side of the Muslim Brotherhood that these may have been orchestrated so that they can ultimately get rid of the Brotherhood influence in society once and for all. So there's a great deal of mistrust that at the very least would be caused by these attacks.
Do you think this is a sign that there's going to be more violence in the coming months in Egypt?
I think unfortunately, if there was a path towards stability, it's looking increasingly unlikely. That would be a path where the government, the military, would invite all Egyptians, including the Brotherhood, to be involved in the process. And so these disaffected masses who voted just 1.5 years ago for this party that was ousted by the military could once again feel like they're part of the Egyptian polity. Without that, you fear that there will be increased instability going forward.
So are there other possible solutions here?
I think without inviting the Brotherhood and again all Egyptians to be part of the process in free and fair elections, even now given that there was a coup that happened, without starting really from scratch of sorts, then you really risk having a schism that will be exploited by these terrorist groups. They've done it in Syria. It happened in Algeria nearby, where a democratically elected Islamist government was ousted by the military. And what happened was years and years of people dead in a civil war, which only very recently managed to sort of calm down so that there weren't daily killings. I would have to be somewhat pessimistic unless there were an about face in terms of the policy that the Sisi government would be expounding for its society.
So as we mark the 3-year anniversary of the revolution in 2011, can you assess the state of Egypt today compared to 2011?
It would be difficult to do that now. I think in decades' time we can really look back and see what the last few years have meant for Egypt's future. If by some grace of good luck, the process that has played out in the last 3 years begets a sort of constitution where at the end of the day the military does somewhat separate itself from the political process, and they begin to invite these disaffected groups one way or another back into the political process and things stabilize, I think we'll view the last few years very differently. But if things continue down the current path where Egyptian society becomes increasingly divided, one side with the military, the other side with these Islamist groups or other groups, then it'd be very difficult to have an optimistic view on what may happen in the short to medium term.
Ali Ezzatyar, it's good to have you on the program. Thanks very much.
Thanks for having me.
After years of conflict, the two sides in Syria's